live in a very confusing time. The problems that we face are complex. We have access to almost unlimited information, yet we seem to be getting further away from real answers. Despite the advancements our society has made, division and strife seem to be increasing. All of us want real solutions, not something vague and ideological. But the reality is that the problem lies within. We can't fix this by pointing fingers. The solution begins in our own hearts and minds. We need to learn how to think differently. The problems in the external world are a reflection of what's going on inside. Gandhi said that if we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. Building a better society starts with looking inward and considering the core values that motivate us as individuals. Building an ownership economy starts with taking ownership of oneself, the one productive resource that everyone has access to. In Roman times, ownership of land became concentrated as small farms were absorbed into the latifundia. Many of the landless poor ended up in the city. There, politicians provided free bread and entertainment. This diverted the people's minds away from the real issues, leading to moral and cultural decline. This is the same situation we find ourselves in today. We're unable to address the serious problems that we face because our minds are preoccupied with distractions. A multitude of voices and interests compete for our attention. We've developed an appetite for mental sugar, and we can't tolerate real substance. We waste time on triviality while ignoring things of great value. Our society is like an addict on a self-destructive path. We repeatedly take steps that fail to solve the real problem and only make things worse. The cure for our society's social and economic ailments is the same pattern that can be used to overcome addictions and a variety of emotional and behavioral disorders. It is a process of self-mastery. We can picture our thoughts as rain that falls on a mountainside. As the rain comes down, the water follows the path of least resistance, eventually forming streams and rivers. Whenever it rains, the water tends to follow the same path every time. But suppose you needed to reroute a stream for a useful purpose, like irrigating a field. The first step is to simply become aware of this need, to face the truth. Our human tendency is to avoid or deny the problems that we need to deal with. We combat this by developing a willingness to open our eyes and see reality for what it is. As we become aware of a problem, our natural tendency is to try to do something to stop it. This is like sticking your hands in the water, hoping to make the stream flow in a different direction. This is a futile endeavor. The water is going to flow wherever it wants, and no amount of willpower is going to change that. Coming to terms with this reality and abandoning useless effort is called acceptance. Accepting the truth frees us, enabling us to do something productive. One can then proceed to grab a shovel and cut a new path for the water to follow. Once the new path is prepared, the water automatically flows in the desired direction. This is the principle of action. As we take deliberate action, we cut a path for our thoughts to follow. So we can think of this process as a linear progression involving 3 steps: awareness, acceptance, and action. But there is also another way we can visualize this. In many ways, action and acceptance are opposites. Acceptance describes a power that comes not from effort, but from surrendering and receiving. It's a principle of mercy or grace. It's about coming to terms with one's own imperfections and accepting things the way they are, not the way they ought to be. It's also about creating a receptacle within the mind to contain and give place for all the good and bad that we experience in life. Action, on the other hand, requires effort. It begins in the mind with intention or faith. We exercise intention by fixing our minds on a goal, drawing a straight line between oneself and that objective, and summoning the will and momentum to start moving toward that objective. It's a mode of thinking that's not concerned with feelings or contemplation, but simply the desire to align oneself with natural laws. We make progress as we experience the conflict between these 2 opposing principles, accepting oneself fully while simultaneously feeling a desire to change. This is a concept that's found in many cultures and religions. We gain knowledge and make progress through the interaction, synthesis, and reconciliation of opposites, justice and mercy, male and female, material and non-material, things to act and things to be acted upon. In philosophy, this is called the dialectic. A number of thinkers have explored this concept, but something that's missing from many interpretations is that in order to have any effect, this process must be applied internally. These two principles that need to be synthesized and internalized tend to be separated and externalized. This leads to a distortion of the original concepts. For example, as people externalize the principle of acceptance, they demand that others accept them and their imperfections. Instead of coming to terms with their situation, they expect others to accommodate them. In this mode of thinking, one of the worst sins anyone can commit is to publicly shame another. Individuals become incapable of dealing with uncertainty or discomfort. This creates a situation in which love and mercy turn into militancy. Internal acceptance turns into external action and social change, the exact opposite of what acceptance really means. As people externalize action, they take advantage of the efforts of others, demanding action from them. In this mode of thinking, people rationalize their own passiveness, saying, "You just need to work harder. You are getting what you deserve." Karma is the Sanskrit word for action. But today, karma tends to connote consequences. Our society is preoccupied with outcomes and freedom from interference rather than the action itself. We're obsessed with results, numbers, and profits, forgetting that we need action for action's sake. Rewards are considered to be a sign of effort, no matter how those rewards were obtained. These two externalized principles have become the core values in our society, the animating spirit within economic and social philosophies that claim to be pursuing liberty or equality. They are the driving force behind capitalism and socialism. Many people have come to recognize that the separate objectives of capitalism and socialism need to be combined into one. But no amount of external mixing is going to help our situation. We must learn synthesis at an individual level. Synthesis means setting aside the fragmented thinking of the past and understanding the interrelatedness of everything. As we learn awareness, acceptance, and action, we'll be able to become masters of our own minds. And as we learn to change ourselves, the tendencies in the world will also change.